Well, let's take a look at some of the girls' basketball pairings, which were announced this morning, Friday morning, as we're recording this. And we have 8 local teams that have made the tournament, and some of them are going in on a high note. Some of them are kind of going in on a low note. And starting in Division one of the teams that's kind of hit a wall here toward the end of the season is the formerly undefeated New Bedford Whalers.
Yeah, they dropped a game to Whitman Hanson, and then they lost their regular season finale to Durfee. But I think they're kind of happy to drop both those games because, both, I think some of the players said during the Durfee game, after the Durfee game, that they were happy to get the losses out of the way now, and instead of going into the tournament and dropping a heartbreaking game there.
Well, I know I was at that game and I talked to Ariel Gomes, and she said, we'd rather lose now than to lose it in the tournament. But I mean, the big concern for them is just really they've been taken out of their game in these 2 losses. New Bedford is known or had a success, with its up and down game. Pushing the ball, getting steals.
They have a lot of trouble when they have to play in a half court set.
They do.
And that's something that teams have tried to do against them, but they're in their element when they're fast breaking, rebounding the ball, getting out on the fast break, and Gomes has been doing a good job on the boards, and I know Kiana Raposo has also been helping on that area too.
Yeah, I know. I was at the Durfee game, and even when they got down at certain points in that game, by 8, 10 points, once that press, they got the press working. I mean, they could score points, 6 or 8, 10 points in a matter of a minute or two, with steal here, the steal there. I mean, I think Durfee had, 8 or 9 turnovers just in one quarter because of that press.
They love to turn people over, and they've got players who can get to the basket. I mean, Alyssa Roach is just great on defense, and she's also the point guard, and does a great job taking the ball to the basket and can shoot the outside shot. But defensively, you're right. If they get some turnovers that they can turn into easy baskets, they're even harder to beat.
Yeah. I would say probably one of their disadvantages in the tournament is their size. I talking to Mickey afterwards. He said, if we're facing teams that are much taller than us, we have to play that fast-paced game because if we're in a half-court set against a taller team, we're not going to do as well. So, they don't have the size this year, so that could be an issue down the road.
And that's something that you see a lot of in the tournament too, is teams with height, and you also see teams that don't really fall for that pressure defense when you get to tournament games.
Well, New Bedford has to rebound the ball because that sets their fast break in motion, and that's the way they want to play.
Yeah. Well, on the other side of Division I, we have Dartmouth, who is kind of a strange situation because I believe they were under 500 over with their outside of conference games, but they went undefeated and won the Old Colony League.
They won all 8 of the games came in the Old Colony League, but they played a very, very tough schedule this year. They played New Bedford home and away. They played Durfee home and away. They played Brockton home and away, and they also played Cardinal Spellman home and away. So those are real tough matchups that I think Jeff Hoyle was put on the schedule to kind of maybe toughen his team up during the season and get them ready for the postseason, because they had some success in the conference last year. I think they finished as tri-champions, and this year they won the whole thing. And they have a great player in junior Molly Brown, who's just fantastic. Shoots the ball from outside, takes it to the basket, plays in the middle on their press. She's just really blossomed into a great player, and I think that they have some good players around her. Amy Wheaton is a pretty good point guard, and Taylor Nisbet and Vicky Taylor are also good forwards, and they just seem to have a good mix of players, and they get the most they can out of each other.
No, the thing with Dartmouth, I've seen them play or actually more than a couple of times this year. They've had injuries. When you say they won all their Old Colony League games and they lost to some of the tough teams. I mean, a lot of this time they were playing without Amy Wheaton. I know Taylor Nisbet was injured for a while.
Catherine Hiller was out.
Yep, Catherine Hiller was out. I mean, so when most of your key players, besides Molly Brown, are out, and you're having sophomores step in, for them to do as well as they did, I mean, only means great things, especially now that Amy's back.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, Mao is the kind of player who can carry the team on her shoulders all by herself. But Wheaton is just a good all-around athlete. She plays lacrosse. She plays soccer. She was our girls soccer player of the year, and having her back in the lineup just makes them even better.
Now they open the tournament in the preliminary round on Tuesday at number 14 Braintree, and they're seeded 19th coming into the tournament.
Is that a fair ranking for a team that is basically they
Well-
are the league champions.
Well, they were 8-11 overall, and I think that's they're 8-7 for the tournament because a couple games against New Bedford and a couple games I think against Brockton didn't count toward their tournament record. So they're basically an 8-7 team, and I think that's a pretty fair seeding.